Hello and welcome to Design Northeast. I am Alan Wan and I'm going to introduce you to the National Design Guide and how to use it. We know that places affect us all, whether it's where we live, where we work and spend our leisure time. Well-designed places influence the quality of our experience as we spend time in them and move around them. This design guide, the National Design Guide, illustrates how well-designed places that are beautiful, enduring and successful can be achieved in practice. But first, a bit of background to this set of learning modules. This first short set of slides introduces the National Design Guide. It's the first in a set of 7 learning aids that, over the course of the next few weeks, will take you through all the material in the guide and enable you to apply the principles in your work. This material was developed on behalf of the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government to be delivered by the Design Network at learning events for councillors and officers of local authorities through England. We at Design Northeast had planned to hold what was set to be a well-attended Northeast Learning Workshop at the Toffee Factory in the Ousbourne in Newcastle. This was also to have included a walking seminar of the local Ousbourne area and the award-winning Mailings housing development to enable participants to try out the guide on site. However, as we all know, once the UK was hit with the coronavirus, that was no longer possible, and we decided to develop the material into an online learning programme in several bite-sized chunks. This one is quite short and sets the scene. Subsequent modules will be delivered by my colleagues at Design Northeast. What we aim to do in this programme is to help you to understand how the National Design Guide relates to both national and local planning policy and practice, familiarise you with the 10 characteristics of the National Design Guide and their interconnections, make practical use of the Design Guide to evaluate design quality, and to understand how the guide relates to tools and processes that you can use to secure good design. In the 7 parts of this learning programme, in addition to this introduction, parts 2, 3 and 4 will take you through the 10 characteristics. Part 5 will look at the components of the built environment, recognising that a well-designed place comes about through making the right choices at all levels, including layout or master planning, the form and scale of buildings, their appearance, landscape, materials and their detailing. All developments are made up of these components put together in a particular way. The choices made in the design process contribute towards achieving the 10 characteristics and shape the character of a place. Part 6 will help you to tackle the challenges on the way to achieving well-designed places, and Part 7 will give you some pointers on arranging your own walking seminar to observe and discuss the relevance of the 10 characteristics in a real place. So the focus of this design guide is on good design in the planning system, so it's primarily for officers of local planning authorities to help inform local visions, quality charters, design guides and codes, etc., and to set and evaluate design quality of pre-apps and planning applications. It's also for councillors, including but not only planning committees, giving an easy guide to best practice in a user-friendly language to help understand and evaluate design quality. But it's also for communities to enable them to access an informative guide in user-friendly language and help them in their development of neighbourhood plans and responses to planning applications. Also for developers and consultant teams as a tool for structuring, telling the story of design development in design and access statements, and also in design review presentations for pre-apps and planning applications. In addition, it will be helpful for planning inspectors as a tool for evaluating design quality at appeals. Now, the National Planning Policy Framework sets out that achieving high quality places and buildings is fundamental to the planning and development process. It expands on the fundamental principles of good design to define what is expected for well-designed places and explain how planning policies and decisions that should support this. It's supported by an online suite of planning practice guidance that's relevant to both design quality and quality in delivery. The National Design Guide, which you'll see as part of PPG, addresses the question of how we recognise well-designed places by outlining and illustrating the government's priorities for well-designed places in the form of the 10 characteristics. So why is design guidance important? You'll see on the left-hand side there the NPPF says you can refuse poor design in paragraph 130, saying permission should be refused for developments of poor design that fails to take the opportunities available for improving the character and quality of an area and the way it functions. But such refusal needs to be based on policy. Therefore, taking into account any local design standards or style guides in plans or supplementary planning documents. But if you have a clear policy and a planning application follows it, it cannot be refused. Where the design of a development accords with clear expectations in plan policies, design should not be used by the decision maker as a valid reason to object to development. So if you're making decisions on design grounds, design policy and guidance becomes really important. Your adopted plan has to be consistent with national policy, unless you have sound evidence to justify otherwise. It follows then that on design matters, any local area or site-specific design policy or guidance you have should be consistent with the National Design Guide. And where your local plan is out of date, not consistent with national policy or has a hole in it, then much greater weight will be given to national policy and guidance, including the National Design Guide. The guide then has a formal role in relation to both national and local policy and guidance. It explains the design sections of NPPF and PPG, it informs local design guidance and provides guidance when local guidance is absent. But it's also a useful document. Like any such framework, it acts as a checklist so we can consider all aspects of design. It also provides a common language be used between officers, councillors, applicants and residents to talk effectively about design issues. It also provides a benchmark for best practice with built-in examples where it has been achieved, and it should provide a structure for documents such as design and access statements, planning reports and local policies. The guide focuses on these 10 characteristics of well-designed places. There's nothing special about the order in which we will look at the 10 characteristics. The point of putting them in a wheel is to emphasize that there is no special order. Which characteristic you consider most important will depend on what sort of a development it is and its context. In a well-designed place, an integrated design process brings together the 10 characteristics in a mutually supporting way. They interact to create an overall character of place. Good design considers how a development proposal can make a contribution towards all of them, and this applies to proposals of all sizes. At an early stage of the design process, the relative priority of the 10 different characteristics should be discussed and agreed. Well-designed places and buildings come about when there is a clearly expressed story for the design concept and how it has evolved into a design proposal. This explains how the concept influences the layout, form and appearance and details of the proposed development. It may draw its inspiration from the site, its surroundings or a wider context. It may also introduce new approaches to contrast with or complement its context. This story will inform and address all 10 characteristics and is set out in a design and access statement that accompanies a planning application. The 3 overarching themes of climate, character and community are drawn to show that they are interlinked rather than existing in silos. Now, if you've looked at the document, which is only available online, you will see that what it mainly consists of is an explanation of the 10 characteristics of well-designed places. This screen is taken from the Homes and Buildings section, and it in fact shows 4 pages from the guide. And each section includes a number of features. So The colour, you'll see, illustrates that it's from the Homes and Buildings section. There are key attributes under each characteristic. It gives definitions of technical terms, cross-references to NPPF chapters, and gives illustrations to highlight good practice and photographic examples of good practice with captions. In the bottom right-hand corner, you will see there is a statement called Looking Forward, Issues to Consider. So for each of the 10 characteristics, a Looking Forward box identifies some of the issues to consider as we're thinking ahead about our places. Both local planning policies and the design process need to take these into account. This section on Homes and Buildings includes some thoughts, including how the design and development of homes addresses different lifestyles, abilities and stages of life, including an aging population, how it enables a variety of different development models, including community-led development or co-housing, and how the design of homes is adaptable to meet the future needs of residents, taking whole life approaches. To repeat then, for each of the 10 characteristics, a Looking Forward box identifies some issues to consider as we are thinking ahead about our places. Both local planning policies and the design process need to take these into account. On this slide, these are some of the have you thought about. We've also added 2 others. One is to take account of the new norm that we are in, where the new norm may have significantly changed our behaviours, how and where we work, learning and how we get about. And finance, taking the long-term view. These will be covered in Module 6 later. Thanks for running through this introduction. We hope you found it useful. Please let me know that you've been through this module. We'd like to keep in touch with you as you work through all of the modules. The next part of the learning programme will introduce the first 3 of the 10 characteristics. We will advise you when it's available.